She's wonderful.
Well,
Hey, Ron, you need that backdrop in the hot summertime. Maybe it'll make you feel cooler.
Well, I need to change it, but it's warm today. I think it hit 35 today, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about what it was.
Yeah.
It's only 50 down here in Orlando right now.
Wow.
Bob C just had a chill when you said, "Oh, it's warm today, 35."
I see Bob C moved from Longwood to Orlando, according to his little stats down there. Had a good night last night. Had 11 people check in. So.
And I thought I moved south where it's warm.
What, Tennessee?
No, I'm upstate New York. I don't miss it.
I'm from Western New York. I'm from Buffalo originally, so.
Anchor Bar,
Got that right.
home of the chicken wing.
Yep. You don't order buffalo wings there. You just order wings.
Yep. Buffalo chicken wings.
Yeah, great
there.
food up there. A great place to be from. I go back every few years. We got family and relatives up there. Ding dong. It's Nick. Ah,
Cooking. In tonight's episode, we're having a cooking class.
Is that the program for the night?
Yeah.
John's
John's here.
How not to burn water. What?
Oh, that's my sister's job.
Sure this isn't a Food Network?
I just had some spaghetti, so.
Spaghetti.
There they are. And my neighbor's checking in.
Here comes Hal.
Oh, Hal iPad. That's his new last name? And radio scouting us. I like that. That's good, though. There is radio scouting us. Oh.
Hey Nick, how you doing?
Hey, doing all right. I'll spare you guys watching me having to eat, so I'll just mute the video.
Just make sure you have enough to share.
There's my friendly neighbor.
James looks like he's getting ready to go out and walk.
Betcha he is. Gonna go in front of my house.
I'm just trying to stay warm in the house.
Ugh.
I'm excited to see pictures when you
Hello.
go delivery.
Hey, Todd.
How you doing, John?
Good.
Well, Frank's iPhone showed up.
Hello.
We'll get started in just a second. See if more people are still connecting. Looks like a bunch of people watching on YouTube already, though.
Yep, really good.
Is things a little different tonight? I show 23 participants, but I'm only seeing 6 people on screen. Why is that?
I got 23. Yeah,
You got 23 screens?
23. I got 23 little blocks here, like Hollywood squares.
Yeah, you probably need to change your view at the top right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, gallery view.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what happened. I was going through the wrong menu.
Oh, don't do that.
I was going there's another menu in just the little screen of windows that I'm seeing. Yep, got it. There we go. Lots of people now. Hi, people.
Now it looks like the Hollywood Squares.
It does. It does. I'm waiting for the jokes.
Where's Paul Lind?
But
Or Whoopi Goldberg.
we'll get everybody started. All right, Michael, you want to watch for people coming in? We'll go ahead and get started. Okay. All right, guys. Welcome to February Orlando Amateur Radio Club meeting. And we're going to get started. I have 7:02 p.m. If you're watching us on YouTube, it looks like so far there's about 10 people on YouTube watching us. There is a slight delay between the Zoom broadcast and then streaming over to to YouTube. So you might be a few seconds if you ask a question on the YouTube chat. We'll pick it up and we'll answer it in the Zoom, but it might take a few seconds because of the delay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me bring up the American flag here. It's always fun doing this share screening. All right. All right. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. All right, guys and gals. Let me go around real quick to the board members and let the board members introduce themselves. My name is John Knott. I am N4JTK, and I am the club president. I just want to give everybody an opportunity who's watching on YouTube also to know who everybody is. And then also anybody that's new watching us here on Zoom will know who everybody is. So Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Michael Cawley, W4MCA. I'm Vice President of Orlando Amateur Radio Club, and I'm also the Hamcation General Chairman.
Let me change the view here for YouTube also. Let's go to the speaker view. Okay. Bob Nocero.
Good evening, everybody. Bob Nocero here, call sign W4KBW. I am the secretary of the Orlando Amateur Radio Club.
Okay. And Anna.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna, KM4JVE, and I am the treasurer of OARC.
Dean.
I'm Dean Groh, KD4TWJ, and I am one of the directors. And I'm also the IT chairman for Hamcation.
James.
Okay. Hi, everyone. James Dual N0 XIA. Yeah, I'm one of the directors. What would be my other title? Webinar chairperson, I guess.
Webinar
forums usually, but webinar chairman, I guess.
Okay. Tony, are you on tonight? I didn't see you log in yet. Frank G, I know you're here.
Good evening, Frank Gergitz, KC9GNQ. I'm one of the directors of the Orlando Amateur Radio Club, and I'm also the on-site ticket chairman for Hamcation.
All right. Bob C.
I'm Bob Cumming, W2BZY, a commercial chair or commercial co-chair with John for Hamcation, and also for the special event and all that, I'm the VE coordinator, W2BZY, again.
All right, and Frank T, were you on? I don't think you got on yet. All right, when the other two directors log on tonight, we'll make sure they get a chance to introduce themselves. All right, let me switch to this screen now. 1 second here. You got so many things pulled up to share. Okay, this went out on email. Although we didn't put anything in the newsletter, I just want to mention so everybody's aware. As we announced a couple weeks ago, the amateur radio community lost an awesome operator on January 21st. Al Lapeter, W2AS, became a silent key. The viewing, there is going to be a viewing done on February the 13th at 12 noon. It's going to be for about 1 hour at the Baldwin Fairchild Funeral Home. It's at 7520 Aloma Avenue in Winter Park, or East Winter Park. Just so you know, the funeral home is requesting that you come in, you pay your respect, and you leave. They're not having anybody hang out at the funeral home because of the COVID situation. After the viewing, the family will have a private ceremony for the family members only. And then Al will be buried at a later date at Arlington National Cemetery up in DC or Virginia. So, you know, Al is always at the front of the Beardall Senior Center. And and Bob Nacero's Central Florida Repeater Association. Al was always known as Old Business, and he'll be greatly missed. But we know that he is in a much better place, and he is again Together with Pam. I'm sorry, if I couldn't think of the name. Together with Pam. So definitely going to miss him, and just keep his family in your thoughts and prayers during this time. All right. I don't know, Dick, are you on there tonight? I'm not sure if Dick got on tonight or not. Don't see him. We did a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, the board of directors wanted to start doing a members ad page for members to advertise their business, like a business card size ad. Dick, his call sign is W4QKP, stepped up to do that for us, take care of it. And he is going to be the ad manager. And if you notice in this month's edition of the listing posts, there is toward the back of the listing post, there's a couple already business card ads in there. One of them is Anna's, and one of them is Scott and Jill from Tower Electronics. They are members of the club. So if you have a business that you like to advertise, because you never know when somebody might need something that you might have to offer, contact Dick on the top of the page. I believe there's the email address you can reach him at, and then he'll let you know what he needs from you to get an ad into the newsletter for you. The rate is $10 for 1 year or 12 issues. So your time starts once the first issue your ad is in. So and then Dick will take care of all that for you. But we're looking forward to more members putting some information in there and seeing that page grow. I think it's a good little service for the club members, kind of especially during this pandemic. Small businesses out there are looking for all the business they can get. So here's an opportunity for business owners to do that. So we're looking forward to more ads in the newsletter. Also, I just want to mention a couple things here real quick, and then we're going to go to the presentation that John has from Yaesu. And then afterwards, we will go, Michael will give a quick update on Hamcation, Hamcation 2021 Special Edition, and then also leading into 2022. But I do want to mention that the board of directors did decide at the last board meeting to go ahead and start planning Field Day 2021 as an in-person event. And obviously, if things change or we can't do it in person again this year, we'll make that decision when it's necessary. But we hope by July that more vaccinations have gotten out to those individuals, and people will feel more comfortable about coming out and being together and doing field day at one location. Details will be given out more once they become solid, and location and what the plan will be at a future meeting. So just keep that in mind. And the field day dates this year are, sorry, I should have that ready. June 26th and 27th of June. So plan on hopefully having field day this year. And more information will come out as it becomes warranted. Another announcement that came in the newsletter the other day was a special event that Lanyards is actually starting and hosting, but asking for assistance with. And it's called the Florida Statehood 1845 special event. Information was put in the newsletter in reference to it. And what it is, on March the 3rd in 1845, Florida became the 27th state, I believe it was, of the Union. And what we're trying to do is to celebrate this and to get people on the air and talk about Florida. Their committee was formed, and we're working out all the details yet. But this it will be a work from home special event. It won't be a special event gathering, but it will work from home. And website was being developed. I think Michael put up a website last night, and a Facebook page has been created for it to get the word out, and more information is coming out, but it's going to be done February the 27th through March the 6th. We're looking for operators from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So again, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., February the 27th through March the 6th. And there will be a link sent out here soon about how to sign up to become an operator for the W4P, I think, or W4F, excuse me, W4F Special Event Station. So looking forward to helping Lamar's with this, but we're also looking forward to having you guys help us work from home so everybody can stay safe during this special event. So more information on that will come out as soon as possible. Then Michael has just shared a screen of the Facebook page that's been put up for it. All the information, the rules, and information is going to be posted there, and also on the Facebook page, which I think, I'm sorry, the website, Michael, which is 1845 Florida. I think you're muted. You still there?
There we go. I had to unmute myself. Too many screens. For Facebook, if you just search for 1845 Florida, you'll find a Facebook page, and the website is actually 1845florida.org. And it is actually nothing there right now, but within the next week or so, it should be updated with all the rules and everything on it also.
Okay. So looking forward to this kind of special event. And the idea is to talk to our neighbors to the north, and we have a few of them on board with us tonight on the meeting. And I'm sure some are watching even on YouTube to remind people that Florida is going to be hopefully opening up again here soon, and to everything being open and visiting, and a great place to visit to help bring some economy back to the state of Florida. I do know that some of the committee or one of the committee members has been in touch with Tallahassee, and Tallahassee has been on board with this idea and thought, and anything to promote Florida, and of course anything to promote Florida that doesn't cost the state of Florida money is even better for them. So but again, more information will be put out on that here soon. Again, committee actually had a second meeting last night, so we're still getting all the information together for everybody. All right, John, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, let me welcome John Kruk, N9UPC. He is the National Sales Manager for Yaesu USA. And tonight he's here to talk about, as I say, all things Yaesu. It's all yours.
All righty, thank you. I'm going to share my screen here. Excuse me real quick. So if you give me a moment here. All right, let's see if that works. There we go. I think everybody can see my screen now. Alrighty. Good evening. As John has said, my name's John also, N9UPC. I am an actual 9-lander here, so up in Wisconsin. So it's actually kind of nice here. And I'm just going to kind of walk through a couple of things about Yaesu System Fusion. And I know with some recent announcements that we've had and everything like that, I think we'll go ahead and probably answer some questions that I'm sure people are going to have about kind of what's going on. We've just announced some little bit changes to our product line here. So I know maybe some might have questions about that. We released a new HF radio and then a couple other things there too. So biggest thing is tonight's presentation, I kind of call it is Did You Know? And kind of Yaesu System Fusion. The reason that we're kind of doing this presentation and kind of talking about it is that we've experienced something interesting in Fusion that I guess I was kind of lucky enough to see. And is there's been enough people that have been in Fusion for a long enough or used Yaesu System Fusion that now it's actually kind of changed, and they're no longer it's no longer kind of the original group. There's a large group of new users coming into Yaesu System Fusion. And what's happening is that a lot of them are seeing the benefit. A lot of them are doing the interesting things like that with Fusion. And then in turn, there seems to be a little bit of what I was told, quote unquote, by a customer one time. They said, your issue with Fusion is that there's no restrictions. And I kind of said, well, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, there's no restrictions in any way, shape, or form. I can do whatever I want with it. And we said, well, yeah, that's the way we designed it. And they said, well, that's too difficult for me. So we kind of take a look back as we get towards the end of the year. 2020 was a crazy year on many, many, many levels. And so that we said, okay, well, maybe we need to get back to the basics. Maybe we need to show some of the interesting things about Fusion there. And that's where this kind of comes into play here. So just a little bit about me. I've been licensed since the mid 1990s. N9 UPC is my actual original call. I've had a few people that think I live in California. Nope, I live in Wisconsin. The office is in California. And UPC was the luck of the draw back in the 90s. So I really liked it. And as one person pointed out to me, they said, well, it's easy to remember. You're the sales manager. So UPC, a product barcode on a product. So I said, oh, okay. It's a nice call. I've had it. I don't think I'll ever go ahead and get rid of it. I've worked in public safety and still work in public safety. And I just want to also to apologize to your group and say thank you for understanding. By working in public safety, my wife works in public safety too, also as work as an RN. Our family was hit with COVID right around the start of the new year. So right at the end of December and stuff. And it kind of hit me the worst out of the whole family. So when I was able to do your presentation, I was really down at that main point with it in the thick of it all. So I do apologize for missing the January presentation, and I do want to thank you for doing that. I'm big in Aries races. That's where a lot of my history and a lot of my amateur radio usage come from. I have all the little FEMA 3-letter nomenclatures, all those kind of things like that on there. But that's where my really aspect of amateur radio shines. And I tend to think that it's kind of a little bit of a nice thing that goes hand in hand, especially these days, when you're looking to help served agencies, or the way that amateur radio is now actually kind of being brought into a light of, we're no longer a bunch of weird people in the basement with pale skin and everything like that. We actually are out there helping people, even during this time of COVID and everything. So tonight's presentation is going to kind of be some of the quick things, but I basically, did you know? And we're going to start out kind of 3 levels. We're going to start at a beginner's level, an intermediate level, and then kind of a little bit of an advanced level. So first part is, did you know that Fusion was actually created in the year 2013? That's when we actually introduced it. We introduced it at the Tapper conference there, and we brought out our FT1DR handheld. We also brought off the FTM 400DR mobile. And then we also brought out at that time our repeaters, the DR1 or the DR1X on there. So what happened at the time is we wanted to create a digital voice technology that had basically 3 core principles, as I told people. First core principle is high quality digital voice. All righty. At the time, there were other digital voice modes that were coming up out of the world. Some were amateur made, some were LMR, business, public safety adapted to amateur. But we wanted to focus on high quality digital voice, because if you can't understand a person who's talking on digital voice, then it's going to serve no purpose. And that's why we said that. The second thing is it had to be super easy for you to get on digital voice. No need to worries, no sitting down and saying, hey, I got this great radio and I wanted to go. And now what I need to do is I need to sit down and hook it to a computer or program it. Or what does this do? What does this do? That kind of thing. We want it super simple. And the third, and probably the most important thing, which actually got me into Fusion, was the aspect of flexibility and versatility. Okay. Fusion is not a technology that you need to have, repeaters connected to the internet, to those kind of things like that on there. And that's what we kind of talk about in the beginner section here. So first thing, if you've ever owned a Fusion radio, or you've kind of wondered how do you start in Fusion radio, you're going to get this screen. And what this screen basically is your call sign screen. So anytime you get a brand new Fusion radio, okay, right out of the box here, let me grab my FT3 here. So if I was to open this up, this little beauty right here, what am I going to do? I'm going to put the battery on there. I'm going to take it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to enter my call sign. Once I've entered my call sign, All I simply do to get on to Fusion or to start talking in the Fusion mode is to literally hit the DX digital button, mode button. It's labeled maybe slightly different on a couple different radios, but basically that's it. That's all I have to do. And now I'm talking on digital. Don't have to worry about programming any other parameters. Just go ahead, enter it, and then I'm good to go. Now, when we talk about Fusion and what we can do in versatility, so the easiest one you can kind of do is to go ahead and talk Simplex. And believe it or not, the Simplex reaches pretty far. I'm actually surprised at some of the tests and stuff that people have actually done with Simplex and Fusion, even including myself. It's actually pretty amazing how far you can get. And it's one of those aspects of like, FM does go so far, but then what happens is you start to get on that fringe edge, you start to get more staticky, more bacon frying, okay? Maybe picket fencing if you're mobile. But when it comes to digital kind of stays and maintains that curve, and then it finally kind of sharply tails off, and then you lose it. But in that time where it's still going kind of a plateau before it dies off, where analog starts to get really staticky, digital does not. And that's kind of one of the nice parts on there. In addition, we kind of started talking, a lot of people are asking, hey, what's a good Fusion frequency to use? I want to be able to talk to my friends. I want to be able to kind of have sort of like a national calling frequency for Fusion. And one of the ones that we recommended was actually 145-5625. Now, a lot of people said, oh, why are you going 5625? We don't do that and everything. Well, yeah, correct. It's not part of what we would normally kind of do for frequency stepping in the US. We're used to the 5 kilohertz step or maybe 15 kilohertz, depending, like repeater spacing, or 20 kilohertz spacing. But what this does is, because Fusion has a maximum bandwidth of 12.5 kilohertz, it allows you to actually kind of fit nicely in there. And that portion of the band, for what ARRL recommends and band plans recommend and stuff like that, is usually the digital experimental kind of portion of the band. So it kind of lets you, hey, we can go ahead and, play in that portion of the band. And more people are starting to use it. When we go to different Hamfests last year, when we attended Hamcation, I know I was at the hotel, kind of, I forgot the main drag right off the fairgrounds are right after, but kind of down there by the hotels there, I was up on one of the upper floors, and I actually had a couple of Simplex on this frequency QSOs there, and it actually was pretty amazing. Took place, a lot of people had a good time, and it's just kind of fun to use there. So Fusion could do Simplex. Fusion can also do repeater. So you can actually have a repeater. We have the DR2X repeater, which is our current production repeater. And then we have the DR1XFR, which is a factory refurbished repeater. We do offer specials on the repeaters to anybody, not just a club or group or organization. But the nice thing about our repeaters, once again, is they're easy to throw up. I mean, you have basically the repeater, you put it in the rack, and you attach your duplexer, you attach your antenna, and boom, you're good to go there. Now, one thing about Fusion, and some may or may not know this, the reason it's called Fusion, and we wanted to call it Fusion instead of C4FM, is because when you're using Fusion, when you're using our devices, all of them are analog and backwards compatible. But what we mean by that is that the repeaters can be used as an FM only repeater, can be used as a digital only repeater, or it can be used as an AMS repeater, which allows, if a digital user comes in, it goes out digital, an analog user comes in, it goes out analog. You can also kind of change things up a little bit if you want to. You can have it AMS in and fixed mode out, meaning, hey, I don't care if you're coming into the repeater on digital or FM. I always want the repeater to transmit in FM, or I always want the repeater to transmit in digital. That's your prerogative. And right now, Fusion actually is the only cross-modulation digital voice technology that's out there. No other digital voice technology will allow you to come in on, let's say, one mode like digital, and then come out on analog, as an example, okay? In addition to our repeaters, what we also have incorporated in there is we've incorporated some nice features on there, such as, like, on the DR2X, you have dual active receivers. So you can kind of set up, like a remote receive site situation on the fly. You can do digital telecommand on there, which allows you, if you're concerned about someone hacking your repeater, they can go ahead and only get in if they have a Fusion radio and it's registered to the repeater, kind of like that extra security method on there. But I think one of the more interesting parts And if you're familiar with our social media or anything like that, we also do podcasts. We call them Lunch and Learn podcasts, about short 15-minute podcasts on there. We've talked about what the repeater can do. And the repeater, it's really nice because it's a small portable thing. And I have my repeaters over here, but I'm not going to be able to lift them up here and show you. But they're small and they're, for the most part, pretty compact. They run on AC, so they have a built-in power supply, but they also can run on 12 volts DC, and they're VHF and UHF capable, meaning you can program it to be a VHF repeater, you can program it to be a UHF repeater, or you can program it to be a unidirectional repeater, meaning go in on VHF and out on UHF, or go in on UHF and out on VHF. It's not bi-directional. A lot of times people think crossband repeaters are bi-directional, but these are not on there because there's only one transmitter and one receiver in essence. But what that does is it allows you, once again, that Aries, Races, MCOM aspect in mind. We do a big ski race, probably not this year, but in years past, up in northern Wisconsin called the American Birkebeiner. It's a big, giant cross-country ski race. And my dad at 9VAO, he is Aries Races for it. Well, I have my repeaters up and set up in there, but unfortunately, due to the terrain of the course, there's spots where people just cannot get out from mobiles and handhelds 20, 30 miles away into the repeater. So what's the nice part about it is with the DR2X, as having dual active receivers on there, we could take a DR1X and literally plug it into a guy's car, okay, have it set up there, run at 5 watts, and it receives on VHF of the repeater, goes over on UHF, goes into the DR2X, and now you just created a temporary remote receive site on FM. The other thing, you have an option is Wires X. Wires X basically was a design and concept of saying, hey, if you don't have a repeater, if you don't have infrastructure you can access to talk to other Fusion users, this is what the answer was. Now, this actually was birthed out of an issue or a problem that was created in Japan, which is at the time they did not want Fusion repeaters on the air. It was considered a prohibited mode. Now that has changed and things are changing, and now they're getting some UHF repeaters out there and stuff on there. But what happened is that, we said, okay, you can't have a repeater. How can you facilitate communications if you're out of simplex range? Well, what you're able to do with Wires X is you're able to set up a node at home. And what you can do is then you can talk into that node, or anybody for that matter can talk into that node. It's all going to be dependent upon your limitations and your restrictions that you have set up there. So in other words, if you have like in my house, I have a nice antenna on top of the roof. I run my node at about 20 watts. It's on a simplex frequency. I have a couple of hams in the area that know that. They will come in, use my node, connect to different rooms, and then when they're done, they'll kind of disconnect from it, sort of like I joke around called the Wires X payphone, for sake of a better term. And it does that. So what that does then is it allows people to be able to communicate, because once you're into the Wires X network, you can go anywhere in the Wires X network, anywhere that has a room, anywhere that has a node, and anywhere in the world on there. You can also start to kind of add or kind of integrate systems together. Remember that flexibility, versatility. So what you could do is, instead of just having a repeater standalone, you can connect that to Wires X. And then what that allows you to do is the users can then go into the repeater, and then the repeater can then access Wires X. So that's kind of the nice aspect of all that on there, is because now what you're able to do then is that you're able to use the repeater locally, but then if someone wants to connect to another room, another repeater, another system or something like that, then they have that flexibility of Wires X to do that. So you kind of see as the system grows more and more flexible. The final aspect of actually for the beginners is, which some people are aware or not aware, is that the DR2X allows you to use what they call the IMRS technology. And we'll kind of cover that a little bit later, but the kind of the overview of IMRS is basically linking without the internet. And this is where I've played with like ham VoIP, or not ham VoIP, excuse me, ham mesh or Arden, that kind of thing. As long as you can IP data link the two repeaters together, you don't need the internet, you don't need nothing. Or if you need to do some sort of hops in order to get to an internet, you can easily do it that way. And this kind of just gives you a representation on it, and where you're using some what we call DGID. It allows you to actually steer the system to who you want to connect to. So with a few of my repeaters I have right now technically 14 that I either own or I'm a trustee for. and I have some of my repeaters connected on IMRS. And what it really does with IMRS is I'm traveling, going through a repeater. I can connect to that repeater. And if I want to talk back to a repeater, I just select a certain DGID. If I want to talk to all the repeaters, I can select another DGID. And we'll kind of cover that, like I said, here in a little bit. And then finally, this is the whole smorgasbord of the versatility and the flexibility. Now we're connecting everything that kind of goes together. You can take wires X and feed it into the IMRS network, and the IMRS network then feeds it out into repeaters. And what this kind of does, it kind of creates a cool kind of aspect called what I like to call a system of systems. So now you can connect your local repeaters together on a more maybe routine or regular basis. And I could connect my repeater together on a more regular and routine basis. And then all we're simply doing is taking one connection from my group of repeaters and one connection from your group of the repeaters. We make that one connection, in this case via wires X, and now we're able to connect our systems together. So that's kind of the nice part about it, because it also allows you to do somewhat of, you know, like an ad hoc or on the fly. So that's kind of the aspect of, hey, here's what Fusion can do for the beginners. Now let's talk about the intermediates. So the intermediates of what we do is kind of what we talked about as DGID. Now DGID stands for Digital Group ID. And what it really kind of was is if you were, and this is where I said the people who were originally in Fusion at the start versus what they're in now. If you were in Fusion from the start, there was a thing called DSQ. It stood for Digital Squelch, okay? And when it was Digital Squelch, what it basically did was it said, okay, here's the deal. You are going to select a number, okay? And the numbers were 1 through, I think, 128. And what you did in that case was that you said, hey, here's the deal. I'm going to set this number here. And if anybody wants to talk to me, they have to set their DSQ to that same number. So if I said, let's number 10, okay? I could drive around. My Fusion radio is going to be absolutely 100% quiet until someone goes along and selects their DSQ to digital 10 or number 10, and then they can talk to me. Well, there was also a feature called break, where when you hit the break, it would open up all of the different DSQ codes. And the easiest way to describe it, and I'll kind of describe it because you're in Florida there. If anybody's familiar with marine signaling, it's sort of like a selective call. You select the selective call, the other station you want to do. But if you need to talk to everybody and you don't know the selective calls, the other things, you hit the break and it kind of open up with everything. Well, as time went on and we kind of started to get into the revision, you know, the second generation of System Fusion, we call Yaesu System Fusion 2, what we started to find out was that, you know, we need more flexibility. We need to be able to turn it on for transmit only and leave it maybe off for receive, or receive only and no transmit. And then that's where DGID came in. And as you kind of see from the graph, it's a very simple graph. A and B are talking together. They're using DGID 1. User C is using DGID 2. They're not hearing user A or B. They're seeing it on their handheld. They're seeing the call sign comes across, but they're not hearing anything whatsoever. So now what ends up happening is that the same user now, user C, now he turns his or she turns his radio to DGID 00, which is kind of like carrier squelch. And now they can hear A and B talking, but if they try to reply back, they're not going to hear A and B. A and B is not going to hear them because they're not using DGID 1. Now, a lot of people have said, hey, when it comes to DGID, how is this? And I guess the biggest stress point, because some people say it, you know, especially if you use DMR, people say, well, DGID is like a talk group. No, DGID is not like a talk group. DGID is more like a CTCSS tone for the digital conversation. And the reason I say that is because with DGID, if you set the DGID to 00, there's no DGID active, nothing for transmit, nothing for receive, okay? So therefore, it's like a CTCSS tone, more or less. And you could also select your DGID to transmit only and no receive, okay, meaning 00, or vice versa. We've had a few people that have transmitted 00, but then they've had a receive on of 03. And I'll kind of get to that why in a second, a little bit later here. But some people have asked, well, what DGID do I use? I want to get started with it. Man, this sounds really cool. This sounds really neat. And we kind of gave a reference to the tone table here. So if you see on your screen here right now, there is the standard Yaesu tone table. These are all the standard frequencies in a Yaesu radio. Now, they are more than the standard EIA 38 tone frequencies, yes. But if you take and associate that, so for example, 67 hertz is the first CTCSS tone. well, that would be DGID 1. So 100 is the 13th tone. That would be DGID 13. So what that does is it says, okay, hey, I have a repeater. We run a CTCSS tone of 100 hertz. Well, okay, how are we going to translate that over? Well, once again, 100 is in this table, the 13th tone. So now we're going to go ahead and use DGID 13. So kind of a food for thought kind of situation on there. We're going to talk a little bit about the HRI 200 now real quick. Basically what the HRI 200 does is that was the basis of Wires X. And what it did basically was it acted sort of like almost like a protocol converter, how do you want to say, a sound card, I've heard some people say on there, where you would connect it to what we call a donor radio. And what we mean by donor radio is a radio that sits and it's put into a Wires X mode. There's a cable from that radio to the HRI 200, and the HRI 200 then goes to your computer. And what that does is that acts as the interface for the RF capabilities on there. All right. So now what can happen is once again, you can talk with your handheld into a radio, okay, basically sitting at your house, and connect to other ones. But the neat thing about the HRI 200 is what you kind of see on the screen here is that with Wires X, we once again allow users to connect to other users. So you can actually have an analog user, which analog is capable on the Wires X HRI 200, talk to digital users who are using digital on there. Now, this is pretty important because when I worked in public safety, and we would cut over systems, you know, especially cutting over from, you know, an analog conventional system to a digital trunks radio system, especially if it's not in the same band. Well, you have to try to get everybody there, or we would create a patch or a gateway. And what that did is that kind of enforced that thing of saying no, you know, no user left behind. Well, with this setup with Wires X, I jokingly say, well, there's no ham left behind. Because guess what? For some hams, and I hear it all the time, and when I've done your presentations at actually Hamcation, you just see this person that they're sitting there, doesn't matter age or anything like that, but they're just going to be digital's the devil, okay? And I usually pop up my picture of Walter here, but unfortunately it didn't take in the power supply. But digital is the devil. That's what they would say. And then it would be like, well, why is it the devil? Well, maybe it's an educational thing for them. Maybe for some, they say because it's a cost, whatever the case may be. They could still play in their analog FM world. And those of us that want to elevate to like fusion or that kind of capabilities, you can then go ahead and connect the two systems together. Now you still have the ability to talk to one another. But Wires X doesn't stop there. It's just not a node to node situation. You now have the ability to have rooms. And when we create a room, basically it's a bunch of users getting together. Now this part, if you're getting confused, I want everybody to think back to the 90s, okay, the late 90s. And everybody got these in the mail. And for some, they've used them as skeet, for skeet shooting. Some have made ornaments out of there, but you got a AOL disc, and you had numerous AOL discs. And the reason I bring up AOL, because that's kind of like the concept of how Wires X is. So in AOL, you had instant messenger, which was just me and you talking together. We were messaging on the computer. And then you had chat rooms where you would go into and there'd be a whole bunch of different users all in the room communicating, talking to one another. Same thing with Wires X. I can connect node to node. So it's just me and you talking literally via RF. Okay, RF to my node, your node, then, or my node connects to your node, and then it goes out RF on your end. Okay. Or we could go into a room. And when we go into a room, I'm going ahead and transmitting, but instead of it just going to one, I'm going to everybody that's in that room. Now, in addition to that, the neat thing about Wires X is once again, the rooms can now be set up to be mixed mode or all mode. Okay. Kind of some will call it differently, or digital only. So if you only want digital users in there, you can lock it down now and say, hey, I just want digital users. Or if you want to have an open room, you can have an open room in AMS mode, and analog and digital users can come in and they can communicate with one another. Now, one of the things that people talked about, and this actually happened kind of around Christmas time. Well, we announced it at Hamvention 2018 because it wasn't just ready yet for Hamcation. We were gonna announce it there, but it just wasn't quite ready yet. But we announced it in 2018 and released the firmware around Christmas time. We came up with what we call the Pdn mode of operation. And what it was a good example is me real quick is that, you know, hey, I do a lot of traveling. what was happening is that, well, okay, if I wanted to travel and be able to talk on Wires X, I had to bring a mobile radio. I had to bring obviously a power supply. I had to bring my HRI 200. I had to bring my computer. I had to go ahead and connect to the UDP ports, specific UDP ports and stuff. And I knew the manager at the hotel I stay at when I go out to the office out there, and he's kind of a techie guy too, has some friends that are hams and stuff, so kind of familiar with what I did. And I just jokingly one day called down to the front desk and I said, hi, this is Mr. Crook in room 714. Can you go ahead and open up the following UDP ports for me in your Wi-Fi system in your hotel room? And I read them off and I said, and can I make sure I have a global non-natted IP address? That'd be greatly appreciated. Well, I did this obviously during the day, and next thing I know is get a knock on the hotel room door, and it's the manager, and the manager's like, oh, yeah, okay, John, I figured it was you. What's going on? And I said, yeah, here's what it is, and da 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 da. And I showed him, you know, kind of on paper of what the whole HRI 200 was set up. So what we did, though, is kind of digressing, is we came up with the ability to do what we call PDN, which is Personal Digital Node. Now what that allowed me to do is, instead of having a mobile radio, instead of having an HRI 200, instead of a computer and all these ports open and everything like that, now I could take my handheld, so an FT2 or an FT3, or I could take the mobile radio if I'm at home or in the car or something, which would be the FTM 100, 400, and 300 series, and I can connect them directly with just a cable or a couple of cables to the computer, and now I can use those to get on the air easily. So if you see in the picture here, direct mode for PDN operation. Direct, we call it direct because you're using the speaker and the microphone of the radio. So it's like it's a glorified speaker microphone for your computer, which then feeds Wires X. So that's kind of nice because now you can actually call back to other Wires X nodes, or like when I was traveling, you can do it that in that regards, in that fashion. It does require an SCU 19 or an SCU 20 cable on there. Alrighty. And that's going to be for the portable versus the mobile. The next one we have is what we call PDN access point. So access point is just like it says, it's an access point. People can get into it. People can go into it. So basically you can take your handheld or your mobile radio, set it up and use another fusion radio to talk into it. Okay. So it's like it's sort of like an HRI access point without it actually being the HRI on there. So it's kind of nice on there. But if you notice for the PDN part, you actually can use it still as a speaker or microphone, or you can use another fusion radio to talk into it. Well, then we came up with the HRI mode because the PDN mode was digital only. And once again, we wanted to make fusion. Okay. So what we did in this case then is we went along and with the direct mode in HRI, now you could talk to digital or analog stations. Same concept as the PDN direct mode, but now we're adding that analog element. And once again, for the HRI access point mode, same situation. Now what we're doing is we're saying, hey, here's an access point. Locally, you're going via RF to your access point, but then you're going down the Wires X network on digital or analog. All right. So that's it for the intermediates. Okay. Now let's talk about the advanced users. Okay. When we say advanced users, this is going to get more so into more specific like infrastructure, certain things that are going on or taking place that you might as a system op go ahead and have to do or take part in. So the first one we're going to talk about is the IMRS, the Internet Multi-Site Repeater Linking. And as we said, what that basically does is it utilizes DGID, and you set it up basically as you kind of see here, where you can set a DGID to work locally, meaning I'm going to go into my repeater in digital with a certain DGID, and I'm only going to go out my repeater. I'm going to stay local. So as you see on the screen here, it says local repeater, and then you can give it a name, N9UPC-VHF. But now what you can do is now you can say, okay, hey, look at group 1 down there. So it says group 1 DGID 90. I could either use it like a base, or group 2 99 is all. So for me on my systems, whenever time anybody uses DGID 99, don't care who it is or anything like that. But what's going to end up happening is that it's going to be able to go out to all the different repeaters that are on my IMRS connection. So it kind of like opens them up. But once again, it's kind of what, and maybe you guys are familiar with it, maybe some aren't, depending on when you got in there. Some of the days, back in the days, it was called PL steering repeaters. And what you would do is you would go in on one PL, and that would determine where the repeater would open up and connect to based on the link radio. That's kind of what IMRS is here in a little bit. So it's really simple and easy to do. As you see, this is actually a screenshot from the actual DR2X repeater. You set it up with the DGIDs in the repeater, and then all you simply do is go into the IMRS software, and then you can do the setup from there and go out to which repeaters. And the only thing you need is IP addresses, okay? So if you have like, and I do up at some of my repeaters, I have like 3 repeaters in a rack. What I end up doing is with the connection of IMRS, I just assign them a local IP address through a switch or a router or a hub or something like that on there. And then that's how they route the audio to one another. So as you see here, DGID1, not associated necessarily to any IP address. But now as you start to get into 90 or 99, what's going to happen is what you set up in the DR2X repeater, you key up on, let's say, DGID 99, the repeater says, I need to go out to this IP address, and this IP address on there. And here's kind of a little bit of a breakdown and examples of the DGID, a little bit of what we call DPID usage on there. So here we have users, repeater 1, repeater 2, repeater 3, and repeater 4. All of them are talking to one another. They're on their local repeaters, not having a problem or anything like that. Now let's say a user from repeater 1 wants to talk to repeater 2. So they have it set up in their system that they use DGID 10. So now the users on repeater 1 are using DGID 10 instead of 1, and it automatically connects it to repeater number 2. Okay. Now let's say that QSO ends, and now we have repeater users on repeater, let's say repeater 4. Okay. And repeater 4 wants to go ahead and talk to repeater 1 and repeater 3. Well, in this case, they're going to use, in this example here, once again, DGID 30. When that user on repeater 4 keys up on DGID 30, instantly repeater 4 is going to go ahead and connect out to repeaters 1 and repeaters 3. And you could set it up in any method you want it to. You know, 1 connects to 2, 1 connects to 3, however you want to do it, that is up to you. That is up to you as the end user. And that's the nice part about it, that versatility and flexibility. And then the final example here is DGID 99. Anybody keys up on DGID 99 on any of the repeaters, it's going to go ahead and link them all together. So that's kind of it for the presentation on Fusion. What I'm going to do is take a moment here. First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me once again to come and present again. Once again, I feel so bad about it and anything on there. I tried to do as much rest and relaxation as I could and tried to get on the mends. And then I've hit the ground running ever since then. And I think it's actually worse now that I'm better off from COVID than there. But we have some of our social media links here, our websites on there. And then we are also, I strongly suggest, go ahead and take a look at our YouTube channel, Yaesu USA Official. We are working on more content. That's what I've been doing a lot of lately. More of instructional videos, more of kind of overview educational materials. We are going to be expanding what we call our YES network. If you haven't heard about it, it's called our Yaesu Educational System Network, where we're going to be having more webinars. We're going to be doing more things on there that users can come in free. There's no cost to it. You just have to sign up for the link on there, and we go and we do certain things on there. We're planning one for the FTDX 10 coming up here, which is basically going to be a user training, user webinar on there so people can get familiar with it, answer questions and stuff, and go from there. So as we said, questions, John, I will turn it back over to you to see if anybody does have any questions or how you would like to handle that.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for John? First, let me say thank you real quick to John for doing this presentation. I'm glad you're doing better after COVID and on the mend, and appreciate you spending the time with us this evening. Does anybody have any questions for John? Don't forget to unmute your microphone.
I'm a big boy. I can take it.
Now, I know on the YouTube side where we're live streaming over, it's still a little bit of a delay. It's catching up still. So I don't know if anybody on YouTube will end up having questions, but we did ask in advance if anybody had questions to sit there and go ahead and type it in there.
I have a
Jamie,
question, John.
Good, Fred.
Yeah. What kind of power outputs do your repeaters provide?
Out of curiosity.
So our repeaters provide 50 watts, 20 watts, and 5 watts on AC power. If you use DC power, then it goes down to 20 watts and 5 watts.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Is that only for the DR2X?
No, the DR1 XFR also does that also too on there. It's we actually just kind of a point of interest on the DR2X, and then with the DR1 XFR, we kind of did actually overhaul. So what it does is we don't have a traditional like duty cycle, because I know a lot of people ask, you know, especially when they come into their, what's your duty cycle on your radios? Is it a 5590 or is it a 101080, that kind of thing? And we don't. We go by internal temperature component values at the what I'm trying to say here, the PA level. So when the PA level hits 140 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, what we tend to have happen is that the system, the repeater, even some of our radios will do that too, where it'll sit and monitor. If it continues at 140 degrees or higher, it actually will activate like a fallback circuit, and then it will drop down, like on the repeater, will drop down from 50 watts to 20 watts. If it still is going ahead and continuing to overheat or be higher at 20 watts, it will even go back to 5 watts. So it's a safety feature in there. Some people have said that they've seen it actually with the 991, like they'll do field day, like you guys talked about. They'll set the radio. It's a black case radio sitting out in the sun, and wherever you're at, really in the United States in June, it's usually really good, nice warm weather. And they've had it where there's like a temp warning that will come up, and then the radio will drop back power on there.
Okay, so the earlier model repeaters don't do that.
Yeah, the earlier model, if you have a DR1X, it did not have that fallback protection circuit. And really, it's kind of an interesting story. The reason we did that is not because it was a design flaw, but we found out people were not doing good repeater practice, is the best way to put it. I know myself, I worked with a customer 2017, I think it was. He called in, was very upset, said my repeater only gets maybe a mile or two from my house. We found out that he actually had the repeater 50 watts with what we call a cheap Chinese flat pack duplexer that says it's 50 watts, but it's like this big. And if you are in repeaters or you know anything about filtering or cavity, you know a VHF repeater at 50 watts or more, you're looking, the cavities, I mean, you know, I'm doing it sideways here, but the cavities are about at least that tall, and you're usually looking at 4 or 6 to get good isolation at 600 kilohertz. And then he was running 125 feet of LMR 400 up a pole in his yard with a Ringo Ranger tuned to the repeater frequency. Well, okay, that's going to cause a lot of SWR. It's going to cause a lot of feedback, a lot of problems and stuff like that. So what we did is we said, you know, hey, how do we help protect someone from themselves? And that's where we came with the power foldback option.
Okay, I like your hands to the side. Reminds me of fish stories.
yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I'm from Wisconsin, so this is how we talk, right? It's really this big, but when you get here, you know, so, but yeah, so that's kind of the story behind that on there.
Another question on the DR1X.
Yes, sir.
Our QCWA repeater, sorry, that's my parrot, call sign PA0ROT. Anyway, our DR1X is working great on our QCWA repeater on VHF.
Good.
So we've tried to do all the practices right. It's hosted in my home, and the fan runs 24/7. And I understand there's a 100-degree temperature cutoff in there. It's hard for me to believe that in that cold room that repeater is over 100. Is there a way to make the fan smart, or is it just going to run all the time?
No, it's really for the most part going to run all the time on there with the DR1X series. The XFR and the DR2X, the fan will sometimes turn off on there. You gotta, when we came up with the modular design of the DR1X, if you've ever opened up and take off the cover, you know, we have a receiver module, and then we have a transmitter module, and then you have right on the kind of the back is the control module behind the display there. If you notice, it's kind of as a funneled fan system or cooling system through there. So it tends to, yes, run all the time on there, largely based on the fact that while the receiver side might be cool enough, by the time it hits the transmit side, we want to keep it cooler on there. So unfortunately, the DR1X, no. On my DR2X here sitting next to me, it's in an idle state right now. It's probably been in an idle state for, I think last time someone talked, and it was looking at my Wires X here, maybe an hour and change ago. So it probably hasn't had any really usage, and the fan's not really running at all. So.
Okay, well, we'll have to get to DR2.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Looks like Dennis raised his hand. I don't know if he had a question or not.
Sure.
Yeah, just a quick question on it. As far as the wireless X system is and connecting and all this other stuff, yeah, I understand the concepts and all that. My question is, like some of the other digital modes out there, are there any publications that are set up there saying how some of these fusion systems are linked? And the reason I'm asking, I'm in the market now to actually replace 2 sets of radios. Well, one died. The other one is just to match it. And I'm trying to figure out, for mobile operation, for base operation, what my best options are. And so the other ones, they kind of have stuff like that, the links that you can use. I'm wondering if there's a publication out there from Yaesu or some kind of Yaesu group that does it. And as a side note, my FL 7000 1.5 kilowatt amp, the fans do shut down when it cools down.
Okay. So like as in kind of what, like how people have the systems linked, not really. We don't post that information on there because one, we have to do a couple things with Wires X. One, Wires X, yes. Well, clear this up because I know it gets usually asked a lot. Wires X is a closed system, meaning you have to have a Yaesu device and you have to register your radio with Yaesu in order to go on Wires X. We do that for a specific purpose. And what it is that if anybody knows anything about linking and radio systems and VoIP and RoIP systems and everything, if we didn't have these safeguards in place, these requirements of linking or registering and all these kind of things like that, you could easily see how it could easily be turned and used for non-amateur purposes and like private business networks. With that being said, then that kind of trades into how people want to do linking and how they want to do it. Some people do have devices that are bridged and crossed and other modes that go into it and stuff like that on there. Like an example, my room here, it's very simple, very basic that I have and run. It's primarily digital for fusion only. We do have another input from another user for like analog and other stuff like with All-Star into it. So that's an aspect on there, but that's what we want in our room, our setup here. In regards to like how do mobiles or handhelds maybe work in regards to those systems, the nice part about it is the Fusion protocol is 100% open. And the reason I say that is because that regardless of what radio you use, whether it's like the 70 or the 3 or the 300 or whatever, all of them are going to have the same basically functions and features of it and interact into your node, your repeater, whatever you're going to be using in the same manner, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. I guess I should rephrase the question because there's very high probability I'll be driving between here and Washington, D.C.
Okay.
It's kind of one, well, is there a way that if I have a Fusion in my car radio, this type of thing, to be able to set it up, hey, these repeaters are linked to other repeaters that I can actually talk to the people back home, during my trip, things of this nature.
Gotcha. Okay. That
the other part. That's my question.
What I would suggest is just do a Google search or whatever kind of browser search engine you use. Type in Wires X nodes. So Wires X nodes, and then or list, I should say node list. And what that will do is that will actually take you to our Wires X website. And anytime your Wires X node goes active. So I have actually 2 Wires X nodes. You can't see behind the screen here. One is my node and room here, and the other is set up with like I said, my PDN that people can use locally here. when those are on, those do report to the server. And because I have mine listed as open or public, they're not private nodes, that information is published. So you could actually go down and saying, okay, I want to sort the list by nodes in Florida and Georgia and wherever you want to do it. And you could see that. And 9 times out of 10, people will post like their obviously their call sign obviously in there, but then they'll either maybe give GPS coordinates, or they'll say the city and the state that they're in. They'll usually give the frequency. Now, some nodes are low power that they just function like locally around here, but there's some nodes like mine that are, 20 watts on the roof. I'm covering 20-mile radius from my house here. So that's kind of the little bit of the difficulties on there. And the other thing I'll give you a warning on is that not all Fusion repeaters are connected to the internet. So they're not necessarily all connected to Wires X or something. They may just be connected to another repeater. They may just be standalone. But I will tell you this, Fusion is this kind of weird thing. And I'll say this is a good thing though, where if you get on a Fusion repeater and you say, hi, I'm whoever, whatever your call sign is, monitoring in Fusion, and all my travels I have done across this great nation of ours, I have never had an issue of not being able to raise someone on a Fusion repeater, with the exception of daytime. So if I'm traveling through at like 10 p.m. at night, yeah, it's hard to get someone on a Fusion repeater. However, I've gone through the daytime, especially on the weekends, when I've gone down to Huntsville, for an example. I drove from Wisconsin to Huntsville, and all along the way, I was actually hitting Fusion repeaters. There are always people to talk to. So it's kind of a mix in that regards. And there's no easy way to kind of formulate a list, because we've talked about it before.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else? Any Fusion stuff, or not just Fusion stuff, any Yaesu stuff at all?
I'll ask a question. It's probably not going to be sponsored by Yaesu, but are you aware of a last heard website of any type for Fusion, for the Wires X?
No, and the reason is because Fusion, or Wires X, I should say, is a decentralized network for communication. So what actually happens is that, unlike like if you're using like reflectors or something like that on there, Fusion doesn't operate that. So when you actually have an HRI 200 and the HRI 200 hosts the room, the reason you have to have those ports open is because everybody that's going into that room is actually physically connecting to your HRI 200 through your IP address. So there's no way to actually have like a parrot. Some people said, you guys need to add a parrot for me to test my audio. There's no way to do it. Well, why is it?
Well, we got Rich could do that.
Well,
Rich
probably
Wilson.
Right, but probably with a reflector, correct?
No, with his parrot.
Oh, with his parrot. Yeah. Okay.
It was a joke.
Good one. Good. No, because there's been people that have put like devices on the other end of things and have done that, but it's a centralized system for registration. So when you turn it on, it calls to the server validates who you are, validates your equipment. But then when you connect to other nodes or rooms, then it goes decentralized and it goes, a peer-to-peer connection. So unfortunately, there's never going to be any sort of way to do that through Wires X.
Okay, well, I was just asking the question because people have asked, how do I find somebody? Like, could I look up his call sign and see where, what repeater he was on, that type of thing. So, okay,
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Fortunately not.
Anybody else? Doesn't sound like it.
All right.
John, appreciate it very much. Thank you for spending the time with us this evening. Great presentation. A couple comments in the YouTube part was a great presentation, so they enjoyed it.
Good.
And looking forward to what you bring next weekend to Hamcation Special Edition. So
yep, we're all looking forward to that one.
Thanks, appreciate it. And you're more welcome to stick around. We're going to continue on with some things. I think Michael's actually going to come up next to do an update on Hamcation Special Edition, and then also lead into 2022, which we all then hope to be back together again. Michael?
All right. Let's share my screen. All right, first thing, we have added a couple more sponsors for the Hamcation Special Edition. Gigaparts has come on as a gold sponsor, and TN07 has come on as a bronze sponsor. So those are two additions since the last time we met. And of course, ICOM is the platinum, one of the platinum sponsor currently. We still might have one more sponsor coming on. So we will send out information once that happens. Webinars. Hopefully everybody has gone on here and signed up for a webinar that you want to watch. To watch them, you will have to register for them if you watch them through Zoom webinars, the platform we are using. There is some great webinars out there. Of course, Yaesu's doing one. John's actually doing one for Yaesu. Actually, I think they're doing two webinars. I think they're doing one on Sunday also, I believe, on System Fusion. But please sign up for a webinar for that.
Michael,
we do yeah.
Real quick, can you just show everybody how to get to where the webinars are?
Yeah, if you go to the main page, which is right here, if you go to event info and then go to webinars, that will take you to the webinar screen. Once you find a webinar that you do want to watch, if you click the info button to the right-hand side of that webinar, it will pull up another screen with more information, a bigger description. Then if you just click the register button, it will take you to Zoom, which then you can put in your information and register for that webinar.
Thank you.
Pretty simple to do. All right, going to prizes. We have some great prizes. All of our prizes have been donated by different vendors of Hamcation. Our Saturday grand prize right now is the Yaesu 991A, which was donated by Ham Radio Outlet. And our Sunday grand prize is the ICOM 705, donated by ICOM. Almost a couple times a week, we've been adding more prizes to it. So there's a good list of prizes right now on the website. And we'll still have some more to add. I know that's still coming in. There's actually a couple prizes at our UPS store right now, waiting to be picked up, and I'll put them on the website once I do, probably tomorrow. So there's your prizes. Now we'll go to prize tickets. Everybody wants to know, how do you get prize tickets? There's two ways to get it. One, when you register and attend a webinar, you will get one free entry into the prize drawing. That's not for every webinar you register for. You only get one. So if you register for all the webinars, which I hope everybody does, watch the webinars, but you still only get one entry into the prize drawing. The second way is, for a $5 donation, you can buy tickets for the prize drawing. And just to let everybody know, all proceeds from the prize tickets are going back out to the donations to the clubs that we do make every year after Hamcation. So the money isn't coming to OARC. It isn't coming to Hamcation. We're going to turn around and give that money back out as donations to the clubs. Since we know when we decided to postpone Hamcation, it would just not affect OARC. It would affect all the clubs and organizations we donate to every year. Last year, we donated over $15,000 to local clubs and organizations. So I know a lot of this money goes into keeping repeaters up, like Rich said, buying new repeaters, stuff like that. So please purchase prize tickets, help out your neighboring clubs. Next up on the list is going to be the Hamcation QSO party. Everything is up and running for this. We have all the 9x9 or 9x9. Wow, that's a big call sign. 1x1 special event station operators set up. To let everybody know, we will have 2 stations set up at the fairgrounds on Saturday. So if somebody wants to come out and actually operate a 1x1 station for a little while, please do. It will be set up outside, so it's open air. So please come by and operate one of the 1x1 stations for a little bit. One of them will probably be doing mainly CW. The other one will be doing voice for that. And if you're not coming out to the fairgrounds, you want to participate, please do. Everybody that participates will get a certificate of for participating. And then anybody that actually contacts the 9 special event stations that spell out Hamcation will get a different certificate saying that you contacted all 9. And then the top person in all 3 categories, high power, low power, and QRP, will actually get a plaque, a first place plaque for the QSO party. One thing we are doing this year for the special edition, since the club hasn't been able to do amateur radio exams since March, which is the last time the club met in person, I have rented the north building, which is the building that the prize barrel is usually in. We are going to be doing amateur radio exams there. We will be doing them through Laurel, which then gives us free exams. So please, if you know anybody that needs to take their technician license or wants to upgrade to general or extra, here's your chance to do it for that.
Michael, tell them that they have to pre-register.
Yeah, everybody that does sign up, if you go to the website, does have to pre-register for it. If you just go under event information and then go to amateur radio exams, there's actually a spot here. You just fill out all the information it's asking and submit it, and it will go to our VE team so they can get everything pre-done up for you for sign up. And it also lets us know how many people's coming for it. All the tables there will be spaced actually over 8 foot apart on the inside. You will have to wear masks. We will be sanitizing each table and chair area after each person gets done. So we are following all guidelines from our local and state governments. One other thing we're doing to help raise funds for the donations, we are selling 2021 Hamcation limited edition lanyards. It's an $8 donation. It includes shipping, and all the proceeds from this are also going back to donations to local club.
Just to add one thing about the lanyards, Michael.
Yeah.
The only way you can get a lanyard is you have to purchase one. These lanyards, whatever's left, will not be given out.
Nope.
And there are only a limited amount of supplies. So.
Yep. So the other thing we've partnered with Gold Medal Ideas to have a Hamcation merchandise store for the special edition. So please go to the website, check it out. It's in the top of it. Event info under merchandise. Once you click it, it will go to a Gold Medal Ideas store that's set up. If you want coffee cups with the special edition logo, t-shirts, sweaters, fleece pullovers, there's like a almost like a Yeti cup, water bottle, there's some stuff on there. And I think I pretty much covered everything on that. One last thing I do have about Hamcation, we are still looking for moderators for the webinars. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen the emails that's come out. If you are willing to be a moderator, please email it@hamcation.com. Dean will be happy to get your email and set you up as a moderator. It is very easy to do. If you're on the Zoom meeting right now, you are capable of doing it. You do not need a camera. All you need is a microphone that works. So if there's a webinar that you do want to watch or you signed up to watch, it's very easy to be a moderator for it. All you're going to do is start and stop the presentations for that one presentation that's being done. You'll start the live stream on YouTube and pretty much be in the room if anything happens, if there's any technical issues, stuff like that. You'll have contact information for myself, John, James, and Dean. If it's something you can't handle, we can hop in and fix it. Please, if you're willing to be a moderator, please email Dean at it@hamcation.com. It's a simple thing to do, but we are still looking for moderators. And this can be done from home. Just like I said, if you're on here, your computer is capable of doing it. The only other thing that you might have to do, there's a Q&A part. If somebody asks a question, you would have to relay it to the presenter to let them know the question so they can answer it back to the person. So they might be a little bit of talking involved if there is questions, if the presenter isn't covering them themselves. Some presenters will do their own Q&A part.
And just to mention too, to moderate a webinar, it just takes 1 hour of your time.
Correct.
Question.
Yes.
Do moderators have to register for the webinar also, Michael?
No.
No, they do not. If you want to be a moderator, you'll have a different login to get in, so you do not have to register for the webinar.
Okay, thanks.
And we're gonna we have some scheduled webinar training, and we're gonna schedule more between now and next week. So if it's like as Michael said, it's very easy to do. We just want you to understand what you have to do, and it's just a matter of a few clicks of the mouse.
Yep. That's all I have. Anybody have any more questions about Hamcation, about helping out for the webinars, anything like that?
Yeah, I got one, Mike.
Sure.
Can we use the tablet to do the webinar, to moderate? Will that work, or has it got to be a laptop or computer?
You could probably use a tablet if it's a newer tablet. I wouldn't say use one that's very old. Are you currently on a tablet?
Yes, I'm on my old one now, but I have a brand new one.
So if it's a newer tablet that has the newer specs and stuff, it should be fine. If you can sit here and operate or do the Zoom meeting on it right now, it will be fine to be a moderator. Just like I said, you don't even really have to have video on it. The biggest thing, you're going to have a somewhat decent internet connection, just so you're able to talk and not break up or anything like that.
I'll talk to you about it later then.
Okay.
Hey, Michael?
Yes.
You still need to email me the address where I have to go to pick up the equipment.
That email will be coming out soon.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or any questions even on YouTube for Michael? Because Michael might have to bow out here shortly because he has to do another presentation on Hamcation tonight, starting at 9 o'clock with another group. So just want to make sure that he has ample time to answer any questions anybody has. Not seeing anything. And then I know it might take a minute for YouTube to catch up. I guess it's lagging behind just a bit, but we will sit there and answer those questions if anybody pops up with anything. All right. Is George or Lou on tonight? I'm not seeing them. Bob, did you know any of the information they wanted to relay, or do you want to wait to have them do it?
Just briefly, what has transpired is it looks like UCF is not having tailgates twice a year anymore. And Lou and George from the Florida Week Signal Group and MSAT have talked to the Elks, I think it's the one down on Primrose, about using their parking lot the same weekend that UCF uses it and having a tailgate at their parking lot, just like the UCF tailgate. The only thing that the Elks said is our grill will be open, and if anybody, we appreciate it if you come in and buy a hamburger. So it'll be free, and you can use that parking lot it's quite a large parking lot, so I think they have it just as many people as we could put out at UCF. And I'll get to George and see if I get him here next month.
Okay. That or even whatever information they can provide, we can get it out in the newsletter, email to everybody, all that type of stuff.
I'll get it.
Okay. All right, let's go around real quick to our clubs, to any updates. This is part is going to be a little strange because Al is usually doing the QCWA, but Rich, are you here to do QCWA tonight?
Sure, I can do QCWA. We sure miss Al too, though.
Yes.
QCWA meets on the second Thursday of the, I believe, or second or third Thursday of the month. I better write that down. In any case, we have a Zoom meeting, the first meeting that QCWA has had for quite some time. And it's going to be held on the 11th, February the 11th at 1 p.m. It's the same time and date sequence as our luncheons. Everybody's invited, and I'll be moderating the meeting. So if you're not in QCWA or don't have a current email address, just send me an email and I will send you the link for the Zoom meeting. And if you are in QCWA and you haven't received the link, then please let me know as well. So we need to update our email address. That's it for QCWA. Anything else I can add?
So it was like a luncheon that you guys used to do. So with the Zoom meeting, everybody fix their lunch and then come to the meeting with your lunch, right?
That is exactly right. We don't even have to go to Jimmy John's anymore. So the best we can do is eat at home.
That's right. All right. Anybody from Lamar's? Don't forget to unmute. How about Jerry's on with CERT? I didn't see Jerry even log in tonight. Nope. How about Bill and Christy for Clarkona CERT? Anything from Clarkona?
Yeah, we're actually starting our meetings back up. We were going to do it in February, but I didn't make our Gazette in time, so we're going to do it in March. But they will start up full force, and we're going to start with trainings again, reviews.
Okay. And how do people be able to join your meetings, or are you meeting in person over?
I don't know. We might look into doing them by Zoom. Anybody's welcome to attend, and we do have safe distancing here in our rec hall.
Okay.
So you just have to let me know so I can call you into the gatehouse because we are a gated community.
Okay. Sounds good. And you want to give out your email address where people can contact you in case anybody's interested?
Sure. It's C as in cat, Moore, MOORE 264416 @gmail.com. Or you can also have my phone number. It's 407-921-9555.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate it very much.
Not a problem.
All right, Bobbin, CF Ray.
Yes, everybody, Central Florida Repeater Association is still meeting last Wednesday of the month at Perkins at the corner of University and Forsyth. We started routing around 6. Some people get there about 5:30. We have a little rag chew and food and stuff like that. At 7 o'clock, we'll hold a, not a very formal meeting, but a meeting of case of whatever. Repeater is still up and running. It's Yaesu System Fusion and Analog. Downtown Orlando, 443-075. Dues are $10 or $12 per year, and if you and your extra person, your other half, if you will, are also licensed, it's $18 total. That's about it. $12, 18 for both. Yes. Thanks, John.
Okay. And Ken, are you still on radio scouting?
Hello, everybody. All right. So I've been busy this last month. Part of my appointment with ARRL was to connect to 31 Boy Scout councils and 17 Girl Scout councils. I'm happy to inform we got 17,000. This is the Girl Scout ham radio patch, and they are working to get this in Central Florida. We have 17,000 Girl Scouts that are now interested in ham radio in our area. So moving forward with that, we have nothing planned right now on the Boy Scout side. They're still waiting until April to find out if they're actually going to do in-person summer camp this year. So that's the big question is, are we going to be able to do in-person summer camp? Because that's 2,000 scouts with between 150 to 300 getting licensed if we do the classes this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get a good response or a good answer on doing in-person camping again.
That'd be nice.
All right. Rod, you still on with Shriners?
Yeah, we're not active right now. The Shrine Center is pretty much coming back under precaution, but they're working. But most of us guys in the Shrine Radio unit are old and we're a little hesitant. But I think perhaps as the vaccine gets distributed amongst us, that may change the situation. But we were hoping to have something in the spring.
Oh, you muted yourself. I think you end up muting yourself at the end.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bob, you wanted to bring anything about the weak signal or?
Yeah, due to the fact that they were doing maintenance on the roof of the Hampton House, we had to shut the beacons down, and it looks like George and I will probably turn them back on after the Hamcation special event, so probably the following week. And also, George has said that we are probably going to have a June meeting at his QTH. So it looks like they're going to shoot for a June meeting for floors. So
okay,
that's it.
Cool. All right. Anybody from AMSAT? I don't think Lou is here. AMSAT, Deers. Anybody from Deers? Lake Amateur Radio. Similarities, oscillatories. Just don't forget about muting or unmuting your microphone. All right, in Orange County areas, Zoom meeting is coming up this Monday night at 7 o'clock. If you're interested in joining the meeting, if you are already not a Aries member, just email me so I can make sure you get the copy of the link, and that will be coming out this weekend. But it's Monday night at 7 o'clock. Still on Zoom. As the County Emergency Operations Center is still off limits to anybody outside of the EOC organization at this point in time. So hopefully that will change here in the soon. All right, I'm going to go quickly around to the board members, and then I got a couple quick things, and then we'll talk about next month's meeting and close the meeting afterwards. Let me go first. Michael, you still on, or did you leave because of the meeting, or what you got to do?
I'm still here.
Okay, did you
I
have
don't
anything?
have nothing else.
Okay. Anna or Dean?
No, I'm good.
Same here. I think we covered everything.
Okay. And Bobbin?
Nothing, John. Good meeting with Yaesu. That was great.
Okay. Yes, it was nice to have him on there this time. Bob C?
Nothing more here.
James?
All is good.
Frank G?
Nothing tonight, John. I just wanted to thank John for a good presentation.
Thanks. I think he might have already logged up, but I'll make sure he knows. I'll send him an email. All right, couple things. Next month, we will begin creating a slate of candidates for our April election meeting. In the newsletter that we just put out, there's information about the elections coming up and what the requirements are for officers and directors, and also if you are wanting to run, what the membership requirement is. You have to be a member of good standing for at least a year to run for an office or a director position. So if you're interested, next month we will have somebody ready to start taking names for candidates, and we might actually get that information out prior to the meeting, so that way if you have an interest, you're able to email the person in advance and stuff. And then in April, we'll have our elections, and looks like, because we're still not going to be able to get to the Beardall Senior Center yet, we'll have our elections electronically like we did last year. A link or an email will go out to everybody with a link on the slate that you are able to make your selections, and you can only vote once, and then they'll be tabulated at the end of the meeting, toward the end of the meeting in April. So just want to remind everybody, if you do have an interest, make sure it's known. If you have questions, please make sure you ask myself or any of the officers or directors that are currently on the board. We'll be more than happy to sit there and answer those questions. As we have said in many times in the past, we are a very active board. So what we are looking for are, if anybody's interested in running, make sure that you plan on volunteering to do projects. I think pretty much everybody on the board has involved in some type of project one way or the other. And it takes the board to get everything done for this club. So we don't really have any positions for somebody to sit on the board and not do anything. This club is too big, too much involved for somebody to be able to do that. So, but if you are having interest, I don't want to, obviously discourage anybody, but just be sure you get your questions that you might have answered ahead of time before you get your name on the slate. So that way you're prepared to what to expect. And then finally, I just want to remind everybody that, Rick Prone has done an outstanding job of getting our membership database back up to speed because of our pandemic that we've had. We went through several months without a lot of updates going in because it was just kind of confusing what was going on. But Rick has spent a lot of time getting everything back in order and making sure that everybody knows when their membership is going to be expiring with the club, and sending you information on how to renew your membership. And but it's more important now than ever to make sure that your membership doesn't expire prior to April, and that you are still good to be able to vote when we send out the email to everybody to vote coming up after March's meeting and stuff. So you want to make sure that you want to make sure your membership is good. Two, you want to make sure your email address is good that's on file. And if you want to make sure any of that information, all you have to do is send an email to membership@oarc.org that goes to Rick, and he will be able to verify the information that he has on record for you, and make sure that if anything has changed, that you have an opportunity to get it changed before we send out those ballots and stuff. So it's very easy to do, but I can't thank Rick enough for doing what he's done, and making sure that everything's kept up to date and answering emails on a timely basis. So looking forward to his membership report each and every month to the board. And then finally, I just want to say our next meeting is Wednesday, March the 3rd, 1 month from tonight. We are going to actually be having TN07 Engineering do a presentation on stealth HF antennas. A lot of us that are members of the club have or live in a HOA community or a deed restricted community, and always asking questions, how can I get an antenna up without my neighbors knowing it, or worse yet, the HOA knowing it. So they are going to present some really interesting antenna designs they've come up with to hide the fact that you have an antenna up. And it's we've seen some of the things they've had, and it looks really interesting. So I'm looking forward to that presentation next month. So, and just remember, while we're still virtual, our meetings are going to start at 7 o'clock until we get back to meeting at the Beardall Senior Center, hopefully maybe later this year, and be able to get back in person. And we'll sit there and go back to our 7:30 start time at that point. But since we're not having testing right now, and everything is pretty much just virtual, we're just we're sticking with the 7 o'clock start time. Does anybody have any questions? Don't forget to unmute your microphone. Okay. With that, it's pretty much all I have. Appreciate everybody coming. Trying to stick to around about an hour and a half worth of meeting time, and we're right about on schedule there. So appreciate everybody showing up tonight, and also those of you guys watching on YouTube. Thank you also for watching on YouTube. And let me look real quick. Dick, there's not a date yet set for the Elks parking lot event, and other than June is all we know. We'll get, as soon as we get more information, we'll get that out to everybody. That's pretty much what I see there. So appreciate it. Stay healthy, stay safe. You know, make sure if you are eligible to get a vaccination, get your vaccination so we can get back to normal as soon as possible. So talk to everybody soon.